It's time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake.
Oh no!
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues here. Round number 10 on the PlayStation platform, and we are at a circuit which is more known for its championship deciders. There won't be one tonight, but it could well be important in deciding the destination of this year's title. We are at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache for the Brazilian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge, and joining me after his 1 week hiatus, feeling all better, is Aidan Carter. Aidan, how are you doing?
I'm doing brilliant, thank you. Yeah, feeling much better this week, which is great, and really excited to be back in the commentary booth for round 10 of the season. Can't believe we're already into double digits for this season. It's absolutely flown by, and of course, the 1 week I'm not here, it's all changed in the championship. So yeah, a lot to talk about and a lot for me to catch up on.
Yeah, it certainly all kicked off in the championship last week, and what was our first week back after the break week, and a bit like the first race, a bit like the last race before that break, which was at Belgium. We didn't have to go far, and it was a similar winner in the end. It was Isma who took another victory, his, I believe now, 4th win of the season, matching Matthew Alder, his 2nd in a row, dominating from pole position. Never really looked in doubt, managed to beautifully control the safety car restart as well. Matthew Alder failing to score points for the 2nd race in a row means what was once a 23-point lead in the championship all of a sudden is now a 9-point deficit. You can see them up on screen there. Matthew Alder now on 81 points. Isma has knighted Dan Irko, and Max Wiesel still up there as well with a chance. Fuzilio is in 5th. He got a decent point score. Santevi getting another podium. He is now 6th in the championship despite having only done 4 races. You can see the rest of the top 10 there. It's still, obviously, it's still all to play for. We've said for a while it's looking like a 4-horse race. Get the feeling, though, Dan Irko and Max Wiesel might have to start stepping it up now if they want to stay in contention.
Yeah, I think it's going to take another couple of bad races maybe for both Isma and Matthew Alder for Danerko and Max Wiesel to kind of challenge. They've kind of faded in recent rounds, sadly, whereas where Matthew Alder has made the mistakes, Isma's been right there to pounce on them and capitalise. So yeah, Danerko and Max not quite done the same as of yet. There's still a few rounds to go at least, so there's time to make it up. But I think if they are outscored by Isma and Matthew Alder again tonight, then I doubt there's really a chance for them in this championship unless it goes catastrophically wrong for the top 2.
Yeah, we've got Santevi in the chat there. VSR's new signing, we can see there, doing a fantastic job in the championship. 6th at the moment. He's done that in 4 races. If you take his points that he's got in them 4 races and stretch it over the 9 we'd have had before, he'd be tied on points with Matthew Alder. So he has done a brilliant job. And perhaps unsurprisingly, after the 2 wins we've seen from Isma in a row, it is now Williams leading the Constructors' Championship there. 115 points for them. Aston Martin now in 2nd. That championship is still incredibly close in 2nd place. Mercedes rounding out the top 5. Haas now dropping towards the back, although they do have a new full-time driver tonight. Ardapel Gamer making his return back. We are seeing a lot of people asking the question about the inevitable elephant in the room. I think if you want to know when PCF1's coming back, we'd love to be able to tell you. Unfortunately, as I'm sure a few of you that probably follow some of the esports drivers have seen, and the PSGL account as well on Twitter, the PC side is unfortunately unplayable at the moment. So it looks like it's going to be PlayStation only for at least for the next couple of days, possibly for the rest of this week. But make sure to keep updated on Twitter, and we will let you know how things are going. But this should be able to provide plenty of action, and especially Brazil tonight always seems to provide great racing.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? It's a real favourite amongst the drivers and the fans in real life. It is such a popular circuit, such a historic track as well. And like you say, it's really good for racing. Not a lot of high-speed corners around this track. It's mainly low speed, so pretty rear limited in that sense. But makes the racing a lot closer. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Of course, that run all the way down from turn 13 at Zhengzhou, which is technically really the last corner on the track, up towards turn 1, and then the run through the center S's down towards turn 4. A lot of DRS straight there, so a lot of opportunity to overtake. So yeah, easy track to overtake on. It's easy to follow, and strategy is not too much of a worry here either. So you're going to see a lot of drivers pushing to their maximum tonight.
Yeah, I think they'll all be going for it. We're getting towards that point of the season where, you know, if you're not in the championship, you can afford to relax. If obviously if you are, you've kind of got to leave it all out there, which I think is sometimes where we see fantastic racing at Brazil. There's either, you know, people knowing it's the last chance ditch of the season, or they're just going for it because they've got nothing to lose all of a sudden, and who can blame them? Qualifying is getting underway. It is beautiful sunshine at the moment in Interlagos. I always have to say at the moment because A, it is Interlagos, and B, it is PSGL. We've had plenty of rain across the top tiers on the PlayStation and the PC, but I can tell you it is going to be cloudy. Well, apparently this is cloudy. In Britain, this is a perfect summer's day and the best day you're going to get all year. Apparently this is cloudy and it is going to be overcast conditions for the race, but things should stay dry, which I'm sure after what we've seen so far this season will be a relief for all of the drivers.
Yeah, definitely will be. We've been really heavily weather affected this season, haven't we? It felt like in the early rounds it was pretty much every race that had some sort of weather interference. And yeah, this track is notoriously difficult in the wet as well, so I think these drivers maybe dodged a bullet in that sense. So yeah, pretty straightforward for these drivers. And of course, with the track being so short as well, qualifying here tends to be incredibly close and incredibly tight. So I wonder if we're going to see a few maybe surprise results tonight. I've got my eye on one driver in particular in that Mercedes Fusillo. I've got my eye on him tonight. I think this could be a track that really suits him, as Jensen, first one on the run, has a massive moment through turn number 2.
Yeah, so Jensen, we won't follow him on his lap. We'll go round with the new driver in the Haas, Ardapel Gamer, as he makes his way through the Senna S, turns number 1 and 2. Of course, Ayrton Senna was the first winner on this revamped Interlagos circuit in the 90s. Used to be a much longer beast as the Haas driver now heads down the Retroposta into Decido de Largo. Turn number 4 and 5. The end of the second DRS straight. You don't see too many overtakes up there, and if they do battle, it normally carries all the way up the hill into Ferraggiora here. Turn number 6 and heading way down into turn number 8. One of the few anti-clockwise circuits on the calendar in real life. Really does put a lot of stress on the driver's neck. 10 left-hand corners, only 5 to the right. Bico de Pato, turn number 10. Albon and Hamilton coming together here in 2019, costing the Thai driver a chance at his first ever Formula 1 podium. No such trouble in qualifying at the moment for Ardapel Gamer. Clean through Young Sao, arguably one of the most important corners on the circuit, if not in Formula 1, because it is flat out through there, all the way past that pit lane. You are allowed to cut that line that way around. You will get in trouble if you cut it the opposite way, heading towards the pits. As Ardapel Gamer comes to us for line, goes across 107.185 from him. If we take a look at the pole time from last year in F1, was on a set of soft tyres and was post-patch, so it is relevant, was a 106.364. Xander, well, in fact, Assecomb's already beaten that time with a 106.352, and we saw it get beaten earlier on in F2, so unsurprisingly, the pace has stepped up, and it is Assecombe and Xander only 2 representative times at the moment. We would expect Ardapel Gamer, Valentine, who's just gone up into 3rd on the softs. We would expect Ardapel, Wouters, and Hamilton and Jensen to all go out on a set of soft tyres later on.
Yeah, you definitely would. I think the whole reason for going on the mediums is just to save a set of softs for the race. So not surprised to see a few drivers going out on that medium compound tyre, especially if they're not that confident that they can get inside the top 10. I think if you don't think you can do it, there's no point in wasting your set of soft compound tyres trying to get in if you can't do it. So just saving a set of softs for the race gives them that little strategic advantage. If there is a late safety car, or if they're running the alternate strategy, they could pit maybe a lap or 2 earlier for that set of soft compound tyres and get away with it. So yeah, a lot of drivers to look out for. Interestingly, a lot of drivers not getting their best runs in on that first lap. Jensen's just gone again on the mediums, and he's done a 7.6, but we've seen Max Wiesel have to go again on the same set of softs. Isma's going again on the same set as well. Brock in the Haas on his medium runs going again. So I don't know if it's maybe a fuel thing and these drivers are just trying to burn the fuel off in the first run for the second lap, or whether these drivers are just struggling to get within a rhythm.
Yeah, it is something we've seen all season. Well, all game, really. What you've been able to do. The soft tyres on F1 2021 really seem to be able to last in a qualifying session that, around a lot of circuits, you can get 2 laps around them. And Brazil is not particularly known for being massively heavy on that set of tyres. A sub 50 second first 2 sectors is very decent indeed from Max Wiesel here. The Ferrari man's had a couple of pole positions so far this season. He's yet to convert any of them to a win. And if he wants a chance in the championship, now would be the time to do so. He's incredibly close to cutting that line. Heads towards the finish line though. 106.334, 18 thousandths faster than Asicombe. And it is the Ferrari once again on pole position. Isma's gone up into 6th place. Fusilio then, the man you said you were going to watch out for. He's on a lap at the moment and he's 12 thousandths faster than the Ferrari.
Yeah, pretty solid first sector, but it's always the middle sector where you find the time here, isn't it? The first sector, you just got to get your braking point right for turn 1, and then it's pretty much flat out from the exit of turn 1 all the way to the end of the first sector. So, yeah, Fusilio's going to have to try and nail this middle sector, taking a lot of interestingly tight lines through some of these corners, not really squaring off the corner as much as you would maybe see. He's taking quite a narrow run through some of these corners, especially Pinarino was really tight to the left-hand side of the track, but through the middle sector, not the greatest. A 50 flat is still fairly competitive, but it's not the fastest we've seen so far. I imagine this time is probably going to put him in between Tanoka and Isma, maybe on a 6.5 at the moment, which is not far off, but maybe not as fast as I was initially expecting.
Yeah, of course, Fusilio, one of the few drivers who races on the pad in this division, so I think any sort of time is brilliant. Goes just ahead of Danirko then. Well, just over a tenth slower than pole position, but that is only good enough for now to put you into 5th place. Max Wiesel, Asicombe, Zander, Valentin, Fusilio, your top 5 after the first runs. Matthew Alder then going for his first shot in this session, and we'll see what sort of time it is for him. 16.471 through the first sector, so again, about quarter of a tenth of a second up on what we saw earlier on. Max Wiesel fastest in the middle sector is where he gained a lot of his time, and we talk about it a lot of circuits, you know, setup compromises that you have to make. This is another one around this track, similar to what we saw at Spa. Sector 1 and Sector 3, it is all about high speed. Sector 2, you need that downforce, you need that good mechanical grip. And Sector 2 basically takes up half the lap.
It pretty much does, doesn't it? All of the corners on this track are in the middle part of the lap, and they're all fairly slow corners, so you do really need that turn in. You need the stability in the corner. If you're struggling with traction, or if you're struggling mid-corner with oversteer, you're going to lose so much momentum in the middle part of the lap. Matthew Alder's coming up to the line. He goes P6, so he had a pretty solid first 2 sectors, but had a bit of a wobble out of Zheng Xiao, and that just proves it. Poor on traction coming out of Zheng Xiao, and it really lost him time down that straight in the end. It was not a good final sector for the Red Bull driver. He's best part of a tenth off the fastest final sector we've seen so far. So yeah, really need the traction around this track. You kind of have to bite the bullet one way or another. Do you go with a straight line speed, or do you go with the downforce? If I were me though, race wise, I'd probably want to go with the straight line speed, just because it's fairly easy to stick within someone's DRS range here. Yeah,
it does tend to be the way that for qualifying you probably need that bit extra downforce. For a race, if you want to be doing any overtakes, you're probably going to want to knock a bit of wing off. You can make changes, of course, to your front wing, as with the real Formula 1 regulations. Differential changes are allowed to be done, tyre pressure changes, and changes to the front wing, but not the rear. So any downforce you are taking off or adding is going to have a bit of an effect to the balance of your car, and something that all these drivers are just going to have to take into consideration. Asicombe was down on his first sector by about a quarter of a second, so not really finding too much time at the moment. Trying to see if there is anyone improving on their laps as Alder comes into the pits. Brock doing a lap he did on the mediums earlier on, just invalidates coming through the Cido de Largo. That's probably the most common corner. You are going to see drivers picking up warnings and therefore 3-second penalties around here, and we're just seeing him come through now, turn number 6 and 7. Easy just to run wide a tiny bit, especially once you're on the older tyres.
Yeah, it's definitely fairly easy to understeer in those corners, isn't it? You can run quite wide at turn 4 and then turn 7 at Ferrojoy. You can run over the top of the hill, and because it's obviously over a crest, your car does get a little bit light, so you're not going to have the same amount of grip, especially on the older tyres, like you say. I think the other corner would probably be the inside of turn 2, actually. It's very inviting, the curve on the inside of turn number 2, the second part of the Senna S, but because it's so inviting, it can actually catch you out as to how much you can take. The track limits are quite strict around here, so you can see drivers maybe invalidating or picking up warnings on the inside of that corner, trying to be a bit too greedy. So there's a few corners on this track. I don't imagine track penalties will be too much of an issue. We may see a few in the race, but it's not as bad as we've seen at some other places, as Brock is going again on the same set of softs.
Yeah, Brock going again on that same set of softs. Isma purple in the middle sector for Spaniards. Had a couple of bad races this season, but has really picked it up in the last few. More podiums than anyone else, tied on the most wins. That is why he's leading the championship. And that middle sector could well be why he takes provisional pole position here with a 106.281. First man into those 106s. That is a great lap from him. Valentin's flying around as well in the McLaren. Only a tiny bit off Isma in the second sector. He's going to get a bit of an unintentional tow here from Jensen, which could really help out. The king of qualifying in F2, staking his claim as possibly the king of qualifying in F1. 700ths of a second. The McLaren goes fastest of everyone. Who else are we seeing some good times for at the moment? Brock's actually blistering in that first sector. Bit off in the second, but this could be a fantastic lap from the Haas car. The grid really looking quite mixed up again. A few drivers have come good towards the end of the season. One man who perhaps should have got a podium last week, Xander, he's in third now. This is going to be possibly bad news for Danica and Max Wiesel, who are just a bit further off. Could really do without all these drivers possibly taking points off them.
Yeah, they could really do without it. Like you say, they need to score the big points at this point in the season, but at the moment they're mired down in the pack as it stands. I mean, Max Wiesel's still fourth, but that's obviously not where he needs to be. The points at the top are obviously we don't score as many points in PSGL as you do in real life F1, so it's really vital that you get the wins where you can. So yeah, they need less of these people kind of being in their way, but what a time from Valentin. That is a brilliant time in the McLaren to go 700ths of a second clear at the top of the timesheets. And he's, like Santeri, really staked to claim. By joining so late, he's already making an impression on this division, and he's doing such a brilliant job so far. So really interesting to see how he performs for the rest of the season. We'll see what Max Wiesel's doing time-wise. He slightly improved in the first sector, but it is the middle part of the lap where you're going to find all the time, and he's a 1/10.5 up. So Max Wiesel, if he gets a good run out of Zhongshao, which he does, and he could get a very slight tow off of the McLaren, I think this could be back on the provisional pole for the Ferrari.
Yeah, there's a bit of irony there. Oh, Valentin, I think obviously headed into the pits. Max Wiesel just having to do a bit of a correction on the steering wheel, and that might have cost him the 2,000ths of a second. He ends up off of pole position, but does get himself onto the front row. Top four drivers separated by 800ths of a second. It looks like it is going to be a fantastic end towards qualifying. Matthew Alder not setting the timing sheets alight at the moment. You can see 21,000ths off his personal best. Never mind the outright best. He's still less than a quarter of a second off pole position. Does gain some time in the final sector, but only really goes up one position. The Red Bull in 8th. 2 races in a row, he has failed to score points. The last time he went 3 in a row was across 2 seasons. The end of season 22, the start of season 23. The last time he went 3 in a row in the same season was down in season 20. So you would expect him, obviously, to be back towards the top of the order. But starting in 8th place, because of the tyre rule that is still on the game and has obviously been removed in real life, if you're in the top 10, you have to start on the same type of tyres you qualify on. 8th place, not an ideal place whatsoever on the grid.
No, just kind of mind in the middle of the pack, really, aren't you? Just be following the leaders along, and then you're the first to come under threat from those on the alternate strategy later on in the race. So, yeah, kind of not really where you want to be. If you're going to start on the regular strategy of starting on the softs, you want to be in the top 5 wherever you can be. So, yeah, he's going again on this lap. He's slightly improving at the moment. He's 100th up, but that still at the moment could only be enough to move him up another place ahead of Brock. So, see him across the line, see what he can do if he has found time. He dives into the pit lane instead, so he decides not to set that lap time. So still P8 for the time being, but I still fear for him that we've not maybe seen the best for some other drivers yet. We've got drivers like Hamilton who haven't done a full run on the softs yet. We know how fast he is in qualifying. Adapal Gamer the same, has not done a run on the softs as of yet. And Fustilio has just started his next one and is only half a 10th off currently. So Matthew Alder here could run the risk of dropping outside the top 10, but with the pace he's got at the moment, maybe starting 11th might not be a bad thing for him.
No, I think I can't remember if he was one of the drivers who managed to do that in Challengers, do a fantastic job on the alternate strategy. We've only got 4 minutes 20 to go in qualifying, so let us know your predictions for who you think is going to get pole position, and if you do want to predict for real life Formula 1 as well, make sure to check out the PSGL League on the Grid Rival app. The link is in the description below. I forgot to take Sebastian Vettel out of my team this race weekend, so once again, Fantasy Formula 1 is going absolutely superb for me. Don't know why I bother most years, but hey ho, there it is. Fusilio invalidated his lap, so he's not going to be improving this time around. Has still got enough time to get back to the pits. Obviously, being such a short circuit, you are able to do that. Jensen, he's backed off 13th at the moment. Said he was looking forward to this a lot more than he was Netherlands. Jensen forms just seems to be tailing off towards the end of the season. He's still within half a second of pole position, but being such a short track, that is going to be oh so important. Out of the championship rivals, it's advantage Max Wiesel at the moment in second place. Don't think I'll mind too much though, being in third.
Yeah, definitely still not too bad at the moment for Isma, isn't it? At the moment, his main rival is, of course, Matthew Alder. Matthew Alder 5 places behind him on the grid. So right now, not looking too bad for Isma. He doesn't have to worry about trying to win every race at the moment. He's just got to try and beat Matthew Alder as much as he can. I think there's no immediate threat for Max. Max is still a little bit far back, so he doesn't have to worry about being just a place behind the Ferrari. So at the moment, I'd say Isma's still sitting very comfortable in 3rd place, was running with Hamilton. It was looking like a fairly solid lap. In fact, it was looking like a brilliant lap, but he has invalidated, unfortunately. So that time is not going to count. He'll dive into the pit lane, I assume, at the end of this lap to get that last set of softs on, but he's leaving it very late in the session to do so. Dives back in, but a 0.8 by the end of the 2nd sector would put him right up at the front of the field. So yet again, strong in qualifying, but just not getting the lap together. Maybe he's having to wait, like he's done so many times this season, to the very end of the session to steal pole.
Who knows? Maybe we might see Hamilton manage to come up from the back at the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm sure that sounds roughly familiar to something we may have seen somewhere before. But let's go on board then with the McLaren of Valentine. He looks like he's just on a 2nd warm-up lap at the moment, just trying to brake and accelerate at the same time. It's definitely not the fastest way around, but it is one of the most effective of burning off some fuel in your car, trying to obviously make sure you're as light as possible. Final lap of the session, you don't need enough fuel to go and do an in lap, so that is a bit of a trick that some of these drivers do around all the tracks. Asacombe seems to say this every week, good in qualifying, but something always seems to go wrong for the AlphaTauri driver in the race. 17th in the championship at the moment, has only scored 8 points, and that was from a 4th position around number 6 of the season, way back in Austria. Very short track. Maybe the shorter ones give Asacombe a bit more confidence. We'll see what he can do on the rest of this lap in the AlphaTauri. He has backed off, in fact. A lot of the drivers backing off. Well, now in obviously the nitty-gritty of the session, Max Wiesel has invalidated. We've seen a few qualifyings this year where it's sort of gone wrong towards the end of the session for multiple people, and the times have almost been decided by the penultimate ones in the session. One person who is improving, though, Isma. He's just less than a 10th of a second up at the moment. He's now over a 10th of a second up as he comes through Sector 2, and in a bit of irony, it's going to be his main championship rival's teammate giving him a lovely tow towards the finish line.
Yeah, that has worked perfectly, hasn't it, for Isma, keeping it to the left-hand side for the shortest run, but still, that slight toe might help him big time here as he crosses the line and does go onto provisional pole with a 6.1, the first driver into the 0.1s. Can anyone match? Valentine has improved in the 1st sector, but invalidated through turn number 4. It's running the risk of not having enough time left in the session, and even if he did have the time, I don't think he has the fuel, so I think Valentine looks like he might not be able to improve on that P2 for the time being. So a lot of drivers leaving it to the very end of the session to try and get a time in. I think Xander's just crossed the line to stay P4.
Xander stays in P4. What can Matthew Alder do then? This is going to be his final run in the session. He's just down ever so slightly in the first in the first few corners. 14 thousandths down, coming through Sector 1. Inch perfect. Coming up the hill through Ferraggiore and then on his way into Pinheiro, really using all the curb that the game allows, obviously, to straighten the car out as much as possible, enable you to use the 900 horsepower from these Formula 1 engines. One of the Mercedes has had a big run off. That'll be Fusilio. Knife's the best he can do, and Alder goes purple in the middle sector here. This is going to put him a long way up the order, roughly, possibly in between Max Wiesel and Xander. I don't think it's going to be pole position. He's leaving it late once more. Is the former PSGL champion. Comes across the line, and it is pole position. 106, 182. An absolutely mighty final sector there from Matthew Alder. He is definitely back on form. Max Wiesel was faster through Sector 1. He's just got a bit deep there, though, into Young South, so I'm not sure we're going to see any improvements here. Isma's invalidated. He's got nothing else left to give. Checkered flag is out in this session. Brock gets his way up to 5th. Can Max Wiesel improve? He takes pole position in the Ferrari. 106, 159. I don't think there's going to be anyone else who is going to challenge. Fusilio has invalidated his lap. Hamilton is going better at the moment. Only gets himself up into 10th. That is it for qualifying. And for the 3rd time this season, it is Max Wiesel on pole position.
It's all the usual suspects, isn't it, at the very top of the timesheets? But yeah, Max Wiesel getting pole position, but Matthew Alder, that is a brilliant final sector for him to get back to the top of the front of the timesheets as well. Struggled all qualifying session long and then bags it in the final run. That is lovely for him. Isma, though, 3rd as well, not too far behind. So that's going to be a really interesting battle in this race. Shame for Valentin as well, was slightly improving in the first sector. Would have loved to see what he could have done on that final run if he hadn't invalidated, but he looks like he could be a major threat in this race. And just look how close it is. First down to 7th, just over a 10th of a second. It is so close at the very top of the timesheets.
Yeah, I mean, first down to 4th is just over half a 10th of a second. It's been kind of what we expected, of course, with a grid of this calibre and a circuit that this short. We expected everyone to be exceptionally close together. Max Wiesel leaving it incredibly late. Matthew Alder there as well. We've seen this a few times from him. We don't seem to learn. We seem to write him off in the first parts of qualifying. And he comes good towards the end there. Second place, very good for him. And generally, when he qualifies high up the field, he tends to finish well. So this could be one to watch for him with second position. But it is Max Wiesel on pole for the 3rd time this season. Can he convert it into a much-needed first win of the season? Second place for Matthew Alder. Isma is 3rd. Valentin in 4th. Brock and Zander rounding out the 3rd row of the grid. Daneyko, Asicone, Fusilio, Hamilton, all of those on the top 10. Then Philip Walters will be the first one on the alternate strategy. Can he get another podium this season? And it's Fede, Jensen, Cornet, Ardapol Gamer, Eagle and Casper. Just less than half of a 10th off pole position. Turns out that he's only good enough for 17th place.
Yeah, just proves how close it is, isn't it? This track is so short and it's so difficult to find those little bits of time, but even a slight mistake can cost you big time. I mean, Hamilton there down in P10, only 0.3 of a second off pole, but he was 2.5 tenths down on his personal best by the end of the second sector in that final run. So there's more pace in it for him as well when he ends up in possibly one of the worst places on the grid in 10th. So just goes to show you a slight mistake in your lap, but it can cost you big time. So yeah, a lot of drivers, while it's the usual suspects at the top of the timesheets in qualifying, I suspect everybody's going to be incredibly evenly matched in the race. So any mistakes in the race could cost you big time as well.
Yeah, that's normally the way it goes, you know. Just tiny little mistake around here. It is, I can tell you now, you guys can't see it. It is incredibly overcast, but we aren't expecting any rain for the race. We saw Max Wiesel get pole position. We said he's yet to convert one of those into a victory. Could today be the day? We've said it before, it's kind of now or never. If he wants to get things right, he's got to do it soon.
Yeah, got to do it soon, like you say. He's got to get it in now. Otherwise, the opportunity just kind of runs out, doesn't it? We're getting into the very latter stages of the season now. So, you can't wait around any longer. So, got to get it done while you can now. And with a track where everybody's going to be so close, it's so risky to run that strategy. But at this point in the season, you've got to do it.
Yeah, you have. It's now or never, I think, is the best way of putting it. It's either going to sink or swim. Let us know who your predictions are going to be. And, of course, we've already mentioned Grid Rival. There is the link there. It uses a new Formula 1 Fantasy League game that has unmatched research tools, team management, with a new contract system, and you get plenty of performance data and loads of engaging social features. So if you do want to join the PSGL League on Grid Rival, the affiliate link is down in the description below, and I can guarantee straight away you will do a better job than what I am able to do. But let's take a look then at the track we'll be racing on then. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, 4.309 kilometres, 15 corners for 2 DRS zones, 1 down the main straight, 1 down the Retta Aposta, and you would expect the Senna S to be where the majority of the overtaking battles happen. Let's take a look at the tyres that everyone is on, and no real surprises there. Top 10 softs, bottom 7 mediums.
Yeah, bottom 7 mediums, like you say, not a shock, really, is it? You've got to do something different here. Sitting in traffic on the same set of tyres, you're just not going to go anywhere. It is fairly difficult in a DRS train to make any moves. So they've got to just hope that the alternate strategy works for them and that maybe a late safety car plays into their favour. But yeah, I would say in regular conditions that the alternate strategy around here isn't particularly powerful. So I think these drivers towards the back of the field are going to be hoping that something plays into their favour a little later on.
Yeah, certainly. They'll be hoping the pack stays close together. Always early safety cars can mess you up as well. We've got a prediction here from former PSF1 race winner. A couple of times he got to a championship battle at Brazil. Unfortunately for him, could never take it. I'm sure he'll be delighted that I've reminded everyone of that. Apologies, Duncan. Matthew Alder, he's predicted for the win. And Isma is in second place. And he's going for Ardapol Gamer, Mr. Benjamin. All the way, the new TF10 signing, he's predicted him to come up good on the alternate strategy. If he manages 15th to 3rd, that would be an incredible race result. I mean, Duncan, he knows a lot more about this F1 game than I do. He's played it a lot more, so he's raced these guys as well. So he's expecting Ben B supremacy, as is Jordan Jones. It's Matthew Alder then starting in second place. He's got a chance to maybe cut that deficit to Isma at the top of the championship as we wait for the lights to come out here then at Brazil. We've got 5 lights. Quite a long pause then, but we are underway for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it seems like Matthew Alder's had a bit of a nightmare start there. Isma jumps his way up into second place. So it is Max Wiesel leading. Isma in second. Matthew Alder trying to battle from Valentine at this moment in time. The McLaren is all over the rear wing of the Red Bull, who has not had a good start whatsoever. Danico and Brock going side by side in the background as well. But it looks like everyone has managed to get through the first sector cleanly at release. It is Max Wiesel in the lead. Brock just getting shoved over the curb there. Allows Asacombe to get a move done, and he allows him to get up into 7th place. No one on the medium seems to be struggling too much as Ardapal has worked his way round the outside. You can just see there in the background trying to get past Jensen. Things are getting very close in this field, as you would expect in the early stages. And now we've got Benjamin battling with Cornet. Can he make that one stick? No, he can't, and Jensen tries to fight back as well. A perfect start to the race, though, from Max Wiesel as he heads around Young Zhao for the first time. He'll still be hoping to lead in 35 laps time, of course. It is Max leading, Isma in second. Matthew Alder just not getting away cleanly. Still up near the front, though, in third.
Yeah, a little bit bizarre. His start actually wasn't that bad. The problem was he just didn't have very good reaction times. He just didn't react to the lights going out anywhere near as quickly as the other drivers around him did. He's actually, in a sense, quite lucky that Valentin didn't get an amazing start, because that would have been him down 2 places. So, not the end of the world, but that does put Isma up another place, and it's advantage once again to the Williams driver. So again, Matthew Alder on the back foot, having to work his way forwards. Bit further down, Hamilton looking for a move on Fusilio into turn number 4, but just can't find a way through down the inside. Will stay behind for the time being, but looks like Fusilio's already starting to struggle a little bit at the end of the first lap. I don't know if he's made a little mistake somewhere, but he's dropping off the back of Brock, who's equally not had a very good first lap. He got shuffled out quite heavily in the first few corners. So a few drivers in the opening corners, while it's very clean, just shuffled out of position.
Yeah, we are hearing from one of the managers at Parnell Racing, Matthew Alder's esports team, Caden Forbes here, that his lights actually went out late on his screen. So there we go. That's why he had a bit of a slow reaction time on his game. It probably looked like a normal reaction time and looked like everyone else jumped for start. But unfortunately, he has dropped down 1 position because of that. Brock's the biggest loser, going down 3. The biggest winner is Ardapal Gamer going up 2 positions then. Valentine hounding Matthew Alder at this moment in time. His fastest lap of the race. DRS is activated this time around. First time they'll be able to use it is down the Retta Aposta, but in this DRS train, which includes all 17 cars, it's very unlikely we're going to see too many overtakes.
Yeah, very unlikely unless someone is running an incredibly fast car in a straight line, but around a track like this, you're not going to see that. So, yeah, you're just kind of relying on other people to make mistakes. Hamilton, again, really close to the back of Fusillo, but just can't find a way through. Wouters the lead medium runner at the moment. Not doing too bad of a job, but he has burnt a lot of his ERS trying to keep up with the cars around. Ardapal Gamer, though, is marching through the field. He's worked his way past Cornet, and he's now immediately onto the back of Fede. So already Ardapal looks like the most confident of the medium runners. Just for him, the problem for him at the moment, he's not at the head of the queue, so he's got to work his way through whilst DRS is active. Yeah,
he's got to try and, find moves in different corners. This is one of them. Bico de Pato, he gets a bit of a twitch on the exit there. We've seen drivers go for overtakes there, especially once the alternate strategy starts coming into play and you get those on the soft tyres working their way through the field, those on fresh mediums, trying to pass those on the older mediums. Not looking too bad for those on the alternate strategy, as long as Walters can stay within DRS range of those in front. As soon as they drop back for the first few laps, you would expect them to possibly be in a bit of trouble. Back towards the lead of the race, though. Max Wiesel is hanging on at the moment. Isma has got plenty of ERS, and to be honest, the Ferrari's not doing too bad on that one either, and seems quite happy just to let Isma close up because he knows he's not close enough to go for that move into Decido de Largo. So Matthew Alder holding on to that place as well. It has been a very clean start to the race, which is great to see. Hamilton again all over the back of Fusilio, and you can just see there the telltale red flashing light on the back of that Mercedes. That suggests he's less than 10% on his ERS, and that suggests he may be a bit of a sitting duck on the straight. As soon as he drops outside of DRS range, can't see him having any hope of keeping the Alfa Romeo behind him, although Hamilton is also burning through quite a lot of his ERS as well. This is been a very typical start to what you see of a lot of races in a field this close. Not too much happens in the first few stages. As soon as the pit stop starts, the touch paper is late and everyone really starts going for it because they know they can't afford to hang around towards the end of the race. Isma not hanging around too much now, and in fact closing his DRS, lifting off. No interest whatsoever of leading at this moment in time. He's happy just to save a bit of fuel, just to save a bit of tyres, just to save a bit of electrical energy. But what it has done has put Matthew Alder all over his rear wing.
Yeah, Matthew Alder there, sitting ready to pounce, but just a straight not long enough down towards turn 4. Can't get the move done down the Retro Aposta to stay behind for the time being. But you can't help but feel everybody's just in management mode at the moment, aren't they? Max has used a bit more ERS, as you would expect at the front of the pack, but if Isma or Matthew Alder, even Valentin could get a move done, they've seen they could go a lot faster. So, yeah, they're just kind of sitting and waiting for everybody to make the first move at the moment, and in the first 10 laps or so of this race, you're probably not going to see it. So, once the pit stops arise, everybody will then be let loose, and they can go as fast as they can. Right now, it's just managing it, but riding on board with Valentin, he's managing it so much. He's got almost full battery, and he's running into the back of Matthew Alder at almost every opportunity he gets. So you can definitely tell, especially the Red Bull of Matthew Alder and the McLaren of Valentin, if they had free air, they could go so much faster.
Yeah, you get the feeling about a few of these drivers. I feel like if Ardapal Game, he's not hounding Fede at the moment, as here comes Isma. Now he's decided to go for it. Must have been listening to us down the inside into turn number 1. Championship leader becomes a race leader then on lap number 6. Now, will Max bother fighting this one back? He's not got as much ERS as some of the cars around him. Matthew Alder looked close there, but in the end wasn't able to get a good enough run, and Max Fiesel does think about it in the end. Always a bit brave to go for a move into turn number 4. You've really got to be alongside into the braking zone. It's not one where you can outbrake someone. It won't just end up with some contact. Kind of saw that obviously with Verstappen and Hamilton in 2021, although we saw quite a bit of contact between the two of them, especially in the final few races of the season. Bad news for those on the medium runners. Walters has now just dropped outside of the 1 second range, so that could leave him vulnerable to Fede, Ardapal Gamer, and some of those on the alternate strategy.
Yeah, just struggling a little bit for pace now. He's used a lot of ERS trying to keep up with the soft runners, but it's always going to be difficult. The mediums just aren't as good of a tyre around this track as the softs, so it's going to be difficult for them to keep up. I mean, in the middle sector, you can gain a lot of time back with the drivers in front, Constantinoing up, but you just can't regain that time down the straights. As Matthew Alder hounding the back of Max Fiesel up towards turn number 1, almost forcing Max Fiesel's hand in towards turn number 1, but Max backs out of it. Further down, Fede gets the move done on Philip Wouters, and he's now the lead medium runner, but he's now even further back from the soft queue. It's now 1.6 seconds. Ardapal looking like he really wants to get a move on, doesn't he? He looks by far the most comfortable of those on the medium tyres, and there's a yellow flag as Casper has spun at the back of the field all on his own. Hasn't hit anything, but that is really costly for his race. It's going to be a long race for the McLaren as Ardapal Gamer does get the move done, and he's up into 12th.
Yeah, both of those using a lot of ERS there. One to defend, one to attack, but it is for Haas who takes advantage. Ardapal Gamer up into 12th place, yet to score any points this season. Hasn't done many races, to be honest. He only did the first 2 and the last 2 with a best finish in a Haas as a reserve of 11th place. So we'll just have to wait and see what he can do on the alternate strategy. They're not too far off the back of Hamilton, who was looking very close to Fusilio then as well. I feel like he's another one. If he was in free air, he might be able to do something a bit different. They look more spaced out at the front of the field on this lap. Matthew Alder not really hounding Max Fiesel as much as he has been, although later on down the straight he is closing up, and I think again there Max Fiesel sort of forced to go for the move. They're almost 3 wide, and the Ferrari sends one down the inside into turn number 1. He's got a bit too deep though. The big winner out of this big move could be Alder.
Yeah, definitely could. He's forcing the driver's hands in front, isn't he? He's trying to force them to use up their battery and their tyres, and now they're fighting for the lead side by side through turn number 4. I think one of them is going to have to back out of this one before we get to turn number 6, and Matthew Alder's going to try and hold it round the outside as he can't really find a way through. Isma and Max still side by side as they come through 6 and 7, but Max gets the move done in the end and is back into the lead of the race. But crucially, he was derating coming up towards turn number 6, so that is exactly what Matthew Alder wanted. He's pushing them to use their ERS, and Max has done so. Max is low on ERS in comparison. He's got 30% in comparison to Matthew Alder, who has got 90, whereas behind Xander, taking the opportunity of the Constantina to try and get past Abika Tapato. Not close enough though, stays in 5th, but that is what you need to do around this track. It's so difficult to pass on the DRS straights. You need to go for it elsewhere, and Xander tried it.
Yeah, but I think Matthew Alder might be trying one here. Isma was a bit deep going into Yun Chao, the last real corner on this circuit. DRS and a bit of ERS has helped him get away with one. Takes the lead of this race then. Oh, contact between Alder and Max Fiesel. I think he'd let one through and wasn't expecting the next one to be there. And Valentin, for a brief second, thought he might be able to take advantage. We said it'd get exciting after the pit stops. They don't want to wait to the pit stops. They're going for it in this stint, and the softs won't be lasting as long as they would have wanted. But somehow, Matthew Alder is still in third, Valentine in fourth, Isma back into the lead of this race, having started, of course, in third position. If things stay as they are, and that is a big if, there's a long way to go in this race, he would be taking a 15-point lead in the championship, 16 for a win compared to the 10 for third place that Matthew Alder is going to get. And it is currently Valentine with the fastest lap of the race. There is a bonus point for that if you get the fastest lap and finish in the top 10. So we could see some tactical pit stops from some of those lower down the order later on to possibly stop one of those drivers getting the fastest lap point. Walters and H-Eagle not scoring any points at the moment, but still have a big part to play in the Drivers' Championship and also the Constructors' Championship as well. As again, Matthew Alder extremely close to the Ferrari. And this time it looks like he's going to get the move long before turn 1.
Yeah, down the inside, and Mats just has no ERS really to fight back, so yeah, has to back out of that one. And Matthew Alder up into second. Will he try the move on Isma on the same lap and get up into the lead of the race? Further down, Hamilton seems to have finally got the move done on Fusilio, and they've made a bit of contact, and Fusilio spun, I think, off the side of the Alfa Romeo on the inside of turn number 2. So Fusilio now another one down to the back of the field. Hamilton gets the move done, and that puts Ardapal Gamer back in DRS range of the soft change, crucially, so that works nicely for the second Haas. Is now already up into 10th. Maybe that bold prediction's coming true that we saw obviously from Duncan in saying that Ardapal could end up third on the grid, third in this race. He's doing a pretty good job at the moment, up to 10th already, and we've not even had a pit stop, so he's doing a really nice job on those medium tyres.
Yeah, he is. Duncan also said Alder to win and Isma to be in second place. So the opposite way round at the moment, but you've got to see early stages Matthew Alder was looking very racy. We haven't got to see what he's been able to do in free air. I feel like the lack of ERS could be costing Max Wiesel another place soon. In fact, he had a twitch out of Young Zhao. Valentin also had a twitch out of Young Zhao, but just seems to have the money. He seems to be able to obviously use that ERS, go into overtake mode, and they're all getting very close here. Is Matthew Alder going to go for a move down the inside of the Isma? Yes, he is. Max Wiesel trying to defend from Valentine, almost goes into the back of the Williams, but it is the McLaren who works his way into third. Matthew Alder, Isma, Valentine, Max Wiesel, Zander. Now your top 5, and I think Zander here is going to be thinking about a move down the inside of the Ferrari as well. That's a bit late on the brakes. One of them's going to have to go over the curb, and it is Max Wiesel. Not so long ago, he was in the lead of this race, and this is how important ERS management is on the Formula 1 game, because now he's down in 5th, despite having the DRS, still looks like a bit of a sitting duck.
Yeah, still a sitting duck. Yeah, it's like you say, Matthew Alder kind of burning his ERS off earlier on has really cost Wiesel big time, and now that Matthew Alder's in clean air, he's starting to build the biggest gap we've seen out of the lead run. He's 6/10 of a second clear of Isma. I wonder if Isma and Max fighting so hard early on has just cooked their soft tyres ever so slightly, and Valentine, my word, had a massive snap of oversteer there. That was a brilliant save for the McLaren. I was for sure thinking he was going to be off the road, but he's managed to hold the car. Either way, though, that is not what he needed at all, and that's going to put Zander onto the back of him. And now Denurko is going to be the next one to try and have a run at Mats Wiesel, who's derating again on the run to turn 1. But Denurko is not interested in using up his ERS. He stays behind for the time being. They're all constantly up quite a lot, and Matthew Alder seems to have good paces now. Hamilton's had a spin, it seems, he's gone deep into turn 1. I don't know if he's just outbroke himself or there was contact, but he's now down, and that puts Ardapal Gamer up another place and into 9th.
Ardapal Gamer is only 3 seconds off the lead of this race on the alternate strategy. Watch out for him later on. The front runners being so close together might be a bit of a detriment. Yes, it's helped him stay close. It's going to make it hard to overtake. He'll have a lot better tyres though. Certainly around about lap 20, 22, 23 all the way up as well. Denurko just doing a bit of moving around on the screen, which is not what we wanted to see. Touch wood, it doesn't affect the PlayStation as much as it seems to be affecting the Xbox, and certainly not as much as it seems to be affecting the PC, which is why we do have no PC tiers. The announcement is in the chat there as a pinned message if you want to read more about that, and make sure to check out the Premier Sim GL Twitter page, where we will of course keep you up to date with all the news regarding the PC League on the Wednesdays and Thursdays. Denurko again close to Max Wiesel, and he's one of the first drivers to pit at the end of lap 12. Zander, Denurko and Shazoo Brock all into the pits, trying to get that undercut, and with how close the pack is, this could really have a big effect in the look of this race. You wouldn't be surprised even if Zander somehow managed to find his way towards the lead.
I was going to say, this could be really crucial actually that they've come in this early, because like you say, everybody's really, really close, and because everyone's constantly teetering so much in the middle part of the lap, they're all losing so much pace in the middle sector. So, in fact, on that last lap, Ardapal Gamer was the fastest person in the middle sector. He was gaining so much. So, that is just proving that these drivers are holding each other up at the front of the field. Valentin is all over the back of Isma. Max has got a bit of a gap of clean air in front of him to push into now that Zander has pitted, so that could help him just a little bit, but it could lose him DRS down the straight if he can't keep within that 1 second range and he runs really deep into Bico to Pato. Those soft tyres on the Ferrari look pretty cooked, so I would say Max is definitely going to be in at the end of this lap. Most of them, I would say, are going to be in at the end of this lap. Matthew Alder, maybe the only one that could stay out. We don't know how powerful the undercut is here, but you won't want to take the risk. So is Matthew Alder coming in? No, he's not. Matthew Alder's staying out. Isma stays out. Valentin stays out. They're all staying out, apart from Astacombe. Astacombe's the only one to react, which is fairly interesting, which suggests to me that the leaders that have stayed out don't think the mediums can last to the end.
I mean, normally around this track, I'd say lap 13 is probably the earliest you want to be pitting if you're going for soft to medium strategy. Lap 13 to 15 is the conventional one. Tyres do seem to last a bit better on this game. I'm surprised Max Viso didn't come into the pits because he did not have the DRS last time around. So, obviously losing out on the straight and with no ERS, you've got Ardepel Gamer all of a sudden right over the back of him. He could well be the last car in the soft train by the time things all tidy themselves up. I've just looked at the gap between Zander and Matthew Alder. About half a lap ago, it was 19.3 seconds. It is now down to 18.6. Well, he's still ahead of Daneco and Brock, obviously, and Astacombe has dropped nearly a second off the back of these drivers. So this is going to be an intriguing one to see when they come into the pits. Normally a good indicator of when they're coming into the pits is how much ERS they've used and that little blue light on the dashboard. And seeing as Matthew Alder's about to start derating, it's a safe bet to say that our race leader is making his way into the pits at the end of lap number 14. Isma stays out, gets it slowed down to, it says 48 miles per hour on the dashboard, but I'm certain that it will be 50. We've also got Valentin coming in as well. Medium tyres done on the Red Bull driver Max Wiesel. Another one that is into the pits, and it is going to be Wes Zander versus Matthew Alder for the lead of this race. And you can see the medium tyres are the ones to be on at the moment. It's a shorter line on the pit exit, but it is a much tighter line, and he's going to lose the lead of the race. How far down the order is Matthew Alder going to be here? It's going to be third place, just ahead of Brock, who's got the DRS and has got the momentum. Has not got enough of a line, though, to go round the outside. So Matthew Alder now into a net third place. And judging by how much time he's lost, you've got to think Isma dropped behind Brock, possibly behind Astacombe and Valentin as well.
Yeah, I'm really surprised as to why Isma stayed out. I don't really know what the thought process is because he's 7/10 of a second down in the middle sector. The soft tyres are dead at this point. They're not going to have a lot of pace. And I don't really see what he gains by staying out a lap longer. The tyre difference on the mediums isn't going to be that big. He's staying out again. This is really interesting from Isma. I don't know why he is staying out so long. I think is he banking on some sort of random safety car? But staying out this long just surely isn't going to be the way to get through it, unless he thinks the mediums are just going to completely die off by the end of the race. But as is the trend with this game, that doesn't really seem to happen. We don't really have tyres dying off at the end of the race like we've seen on previous games. It just isn't really a factor. So yeah, I'm really confused as to why Isma's stayed out. One person that has also lost big time in all of that is Max Wiesel. He is now completely off the lead pack, still with no ERS, and has dropped so far back that he's now been caught by Hamilton, and Hamilton spun in the early phases of this race. So yeah, Max has really been caught out by this pit stop phase. What a great qualifying for him, but in the race he has just completely plummeted through the field.
Seems to have been a bit of an unfortunate pattern for him. He's had 2 podiums this season, hasn't taken any though in the last 5 races. Almost certainly won't here, and the championship challenge for Max Wiesel could be fading away. Isma, last lap around, was a second slower than what we've seen from Zander, the net leader of this race at the moment. He is going to drop a long way down the order, and he is finally coming into the pits this lap, but do not expect him to be anywhere near the front of this train. I'd say he needs to watch out. He might also be somewhere in and around Max Wiesel. This is a very interesting strategy from Isma. His tyres will definitely be better later on, just whether he'll actually be able to do anything with those. It is Zander then in the net lead of this race. Ardepel Gamer in the actual lead. Brock looking fairly close to Matthew Alder, but can't do anything in the train at the moment as Hamilton again sets the fastest lap of the race and just breezes his way past Max Wiesel. Goes deep into turn 1 once more and has to avoid getting chopped across the front of at the second part of the centre rest. These two fighting hard for 13th place at the moment. Well, could be 13th place because Isma just gets out ahead of them. Crucial that he pitted that lap to get ahead of those guys, but he's got no DRS here. That's going to make it exceptionally hard to catch up to those ahead.
I'm completely confused by this strategy for Isma. I don't know why he's decided to stay out so long. Obviously, he's now dropped off the back of this queue in front, and it's not like the queue of cars in front are going to be slow on their medium tyres. They've got no traffic in front. They're all fairly new tyres, so they're not going to be struggling for pace. Unless Isma truly thinks that all the drivers in front are going to be terribly slow at the end of this race on their mediums. I just don't see it happening, though. He's pushing really hard on this lap as Isma to try and get back within DRS range. He sets a purple middle sector, trying to do so, but it's a 10th out, so all that time he has just gained in the middle sector of the lap, he's probably going to lose down this pit straight just with the DRS power. So, yeah, I don't really see what the point in the strategy was for Isma, because even if he does get back in the DRS train, he was at the very front of it. He's now at the very back of it.
And he's burned up all his DRS trying to get back into range as well. It was 1.0 at the start of the straight, then went down to 1.2. Gained a bit in the braking zone, but again, not enough to get back within DRS range. With no ERS, he's going to lose down this straight and lose because of the slipstream all the way up to Pinarino as well. And he's going to have to go like Sting in the middle sector once more to try and catch up. He looks like he is going to be able to do it, and fair play to him, because I didn't think he was going to. But at the back of this train, with no ERS, got to say, you're going to have no chance of getting any moves done, barring any mistakes from those out in front. These are those that have pitted at the moment. It is just the front six and Casper, who's having a bit of a disastrous race, who are yet to come into the pit. Ardapel Gamer then leading. You'd expect another 3 or 4 laps before he comes in and puts on a set of the soft tyres. As things stand, he'd come out behind Hamilton. So that's one to watch out for. Not too far behind and on a much fresher set of tyres. The Ben B podium might still be on. I know he's got plenty of fans as the former F2 champion. His teammates doing a decent job as well. Haas bottom of the Constructors' Championship at the moment. They're currently in 1st and 10th. We'll see how it all comes at the end of the race, but Brock's possibly on for his best result of the season, and you'd imagine that Benjamin is as well.
Yeah, definitely looking like it at the moment, isn't it? It's one of the strongest zones, like you say, we've seen from Haas so far this season. So hopefully they can keep up that good run, and we'll see where they come out. I would say it'll probably be 21, 22. We see the soft runners in. You want to use the softs, but you don't want to pit too early for them to the point where they end up being slower than the mediums again at the end of the race. So I'd say give it 3 or 4 laps, and then they'll be in for the softs. They'll be hoping for some sort of safety car in the next 3 laps or so, because that would put them in a brilliant position. But at the moment, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Isma has caught the back of them now, but by doing that, he's now dragged Max and TF Hamilton with him. So that train gets even bigger, and now he's still got the threat from behind. So yeah, still baffled by this. It's already Fede, Wouters and Eagle into the pit lane. That is a lot earlier than I was expecting. Casper the first person to get a time penalty to compound what's been a horrid race for him. But the end of lap 19, that is very early for a set of softs.
It is, and we're nearly seeing a few changes here towards the front of the medium runners. Down the outside goes Valentine there on Brock. Lovely move from the McLaren driver. Will Brock be able to fight back, though? Down the Retro Aposte. Looks right, looks left. No real momentum from the Haas, and the McLaren does stay ahead for now and taps the back of Matthew Older. That sends Matthew off-road. Valentine, fair play to him, decides to hold on to that, well, hold back to not overtake him, and that gives Brock a chance to try and get that position back. Round the outside goes the Haas driver. Is he able to pull it off? Yes, he is. What a move by Brock there to get that position back. Goes a bit deep into turn number 8. Valentine, fantastic move firstly round the outside into turn number 1. Just perhaps got a bit overexcited, tapped the back of Matthew Older, who will be grateful for the fact that he hasn't dropped outside of DRS range.
Yeah, that's really lucky for Matthew Older that wasn't more impactful than it was. But yeah, that was a heart-in-mouth moment, and I would be shocked if Valentine's got away with that with no damage. He looks okay for the time being, but that was a hefty whack with the back of the Red Bull. Further down in the pack as well, Hamilton trying to get past Asacombe here. Asacombe's dropped. He's dropped behind Isma and Max V, so now Hamilton's going to get down the inside of the AlphaTauri. Is he? Yes, he is. Gets the move done, so up to P9 now goes the Alfa Romeo. Pretty good recovery for Hamilton, considering the mistake he made early on in the race. So yeah, working his way back through the field quite nicely. So yeah, bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for Matthew Older, but luckily for him, he's still within DRS range to Nurko and Zander, so he can continue on, and he's not really lost too much. If anything, it's just impacted Valentine more. He had such a great move of Brock, and then immediately threw it away at the next corner.
Yeah, he did, and yeah, it looks like he's got away without any damage at the moment on the TAS system. You can use !help if you want all the TAS commands, which pop up in the live chat. They will get filtered out in the top chats if you want to see what penalties all your different drivers are are on at the moment. We've only seen one penalty, and that is Casper with 3 seconds down at the back of the field, who I think is just on a bit of a retirement tour at the moment, obviously planning to leave League Racing at the end of this game. Jensen comes into the pits at the end of lap 21, so this battle for the virtual lead of the race is going to become the battle for the actual lead of the race. Zander in the lead, Danirko in what is going to be second place. He's going to be able to go for one down the inside, a bit like early on in the first stint. The Aston Martin not too interested in getting these moves done at the moment, and Fede almost within DRS range of this medium train. It's going to be a fantastic 15 laps, folks.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's going to be fun, isn't it? And I think a good thing for Fede is that the first person in the train is his teammate, and I don't think Asakome is going to put up that much of a fight if Fede's got a good opportunity. So, yeah, soft tyres looking pretty fast. Fede came out of the pit lane 3.5 seconds behind this queue, and in 2 laps he's already within DRS range. So the soft tyres do have a lot of pace. I think Ardapal Gamer will be a bit miffed that everybody pitted so early, because he's ended up third in this train rather than at the lead of it. So a lot of the places he gained in the early phases, he's just lost again by being caught napping a little bit in the pit stop phase. So he's going to have to work his way back through again. But look at Fede in the middle sector, the pace he's got over his teammate. Surely Asakome won't put up a fight.
Yeah, surely if these two are communicating, you'd be saying, come on, get out of the way, I'm on the better strategy here. Of course, letting one car by is okay if there's not a massive train behind you all of a sudden. Well, Asakome there has got the DRS, just lifts off slightly, allows Fede to take the racing line. The Aston Martin is up into 9th position. How far up the order can he get? Expect to see some moves in the middle sector, is all I'm saying here. They're going to be really going for it. Valentine going for it again on the back of Brock. Got it wrong the last time he tried anything into turn number 4. This time down the inside again, not quite far enough alongside to hold that position, and has to stay in 5th position. As we've got a yellow flag, and that is Ardapal Gamer and Walters both off at turn number 4.
Oh, that is such a shame for Ardapal Gamer and Philip Walters. I think Walters went for the move on Asakome into turn 4, and it was a day late and $1 short. He spun off the side of the AlphaTauri, and Ardapal Gamer was just caught up in the aftermath, and they both dropped down the field. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's another pit stop for the two of them. But that is such a shame after such a great race for up until the pit stop phase for Ardapal especially. All of his work is just null and void now when he's down to the back of the field. That is such a shame, and that really puts pay to a lot of the soft runners now. So only the real soft runner at the moment making any progress is Fede. He's onto the back of Hamilton, who has a penalty. Hamilton, though, likewise onto the back of Max, and further up in front, Valentine going for it again on Brock around the outside of turn number 1. And for the second time in this race, he's pulled the move off beautifully.
It worked last time, it's worked this time. Fantastic there from Valentine. His 180 hearts cry out in anguish at the fact that Benjamin is looking like he's realistically out of this race. Valentine doesn't outbreak himself into turn number 4 this time, so does hold on to position number 4. And Isma now trying to have a go at Brock here. Down the inside into Pinheiro. You don't see many moves there. Very opportunistic from our championship leader. He gets himself up into 5th. Needs to try and limit the damage to his championship lead. As things stand at the moment, what was currently 9 points would be dropping down to 5. I can't see any of these drivers in the top on the mediums getting the fastest lap points, of course, because those on the softs are going to be extremely fast further back. And talking about fast, Corney, just look at the grip he's got straight round the outside at Miguelio. He's into the top 10.
Yeah, lovely move there. We're seeing a lot of great overtakes in this race, aren't we? We're not seeing people rely on the DRS to breeze past, and they're making some brilliant moves in this race. Fede was trying to move on Hamilton at turn 4, but kind of got put on the grass in the braking zone, so I had to back out of that one last minute. And look, again, Hamilton trying to move on Mats Wiesel, but can't find a way through. This DRS train is a lot more action-packed than I first expected it would be as Walters retires in the pits. I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit of a procession, but everybody's really pushing for overtakes. They're nearly 3 wide down to turn 4. Hamilton going for the move on Mats Wiesel again down the inside. There's a little bit of contact. Hamilton spins, and again, Fede just can't go anywhere. And Asakome as well runs into the back of his teammate. Possibly that's a safety car, and it is. That is a full safety car. Again, the ghosting system on this game really catching drivers out. Hamilton was spinning for the best part of a few seconds. The car didn't ghost, and neither of the AlphaTauris had anywhere to go.
And that's why you don't retire in the pit lane, because Ardapal Gamer had that incident. He's carried on. Fair play to him. He's going to be a long way down, but he's back onto the back of the pack. Of course, he's going to have a bit of a chance here to maybe still pick up some points. And this just brings over soft runners close up again. Those on the mediums, they're going to struggle with the warm-up on the tyres. So if you've got a bit fresher tyres, like Matthew Older, like Valentine, like Isma, who has the freshest medium tyres, you might be in a very good position here. Will we see anyone pit off the medium tyres onto a set of the softs? We are doing Brock and Max Wiesel, perhaps further back in that train, feeling like they've got nothing to lose. They are coming in for a set of the soft tyres. They're going to drop a few positions. Cornet got damaged in that as well. Such a shame for him. I did see someone other than Asacone pick up some damage, and unfortunately it was the Aston Martin driver. Looks like he's going to struggle to score points in this race. Fede up into 6th place. H-Eagle, we've not really spoke about him. He's 7th. All of a sudden, things looking pretty decent for Red Bull in the constructors here. 3rd and 7th at the moment.
Yeah, looking really good. And H-Eagle, yeah, we've not really seen much of him so far this season, bar that good performance he had, I think, at Monaco earlier on in the season, if I get that correct. But yeah, that's good for him. He avoided all of that carnage. And I will say, I'm amazed Fede got away from all of that without any damage. I was for sure certain that he'd broken his front wing and all of that carnage, but somehow he hadn't, and he's gotten away with it. So he's very lucky to get away with that, and is still in a good seat in this race. So is Jensen as well. Jensen pitted a lot later than the rest of the soft runners and was kind of running around on his own. This has brought him back into play quite nicely as well. So he is now up into 8th. And I'm not surprised that Brock and Max are the ones that came in. Max has been struggling for tyre wear, it seems, all race long, and Brock was just starting to plummet through the medium train. He was running in an EP4, but he just lost 2 positions in the previous lap. So maybe he was starting to struggle with tyre wear as well. So not surprised they're the 2 that have come in.
Yeah, neither am I. I mean, I agree with what Bolt said. And I've just realised here he's known as being very poorly on. He's called Bolt, so surely Jolteon would have been a more specific name. These are the random thoughts you get under the safety cars, people. Only 3 medium runners pitted. I was expecting a couple more, possibly not the front few, but I feel like there might be a bit of a sitting duck at the moment. They're going to have the track position. We have seen, obviously, this DRS train has been so important at the moment, and it has been difficult to overtake. So that is clearly what is on the minds of those on the medium runners. We've 10 laps to go. Well, you can see the penalty situation there on screen at the moment. 3 seconds for Hamilton, 3 for Casper. If I try to get up the warnings for you, Xander, I don't believe it's showing us, unfortunately, how many warnings he has got at this moment in time. Either that or he's done a very good job being on no warnings. The driver who looked close to picking some, H-Eagle and Max Wiesel, both on 2 at this moment in time. So they need to be very careful indeed. Being careful is easier said than done when there's only 10 laps to go in the race and the entire field is going to be within a pit straight of each other. Xander, he's going to have to do this restart. He's going to have to do it this lap. He's going to have to get it absolutely inch perfect. It's a very difficult track to do a restart on here. Expect him to leave it as late as he can get away with.
Yeah, I would imagine so. You don't want to give anybody the toe into turn 1, so I imagine he's going to go very late, like you say. And these drivers have been very hectic and desperate to make moves in this race, and that was before any safety car period and a lot of drivers put on a fresh set of softs. I dread to think what these final 10 laps are going to be like, but they're going to be very interesting, to say the least. And yeah, Isma going to be the first of those under pressure from the soft runners, but he has the freshest medium runners of any in the top 5. So is it a case of Xander and Janerko being corks in the bottle at the front of the field?
We've basically got 25% race and a 50% race here, folks. 9 laps remaining. And Xander gets to control the field. Needs to get this restart right. Needs to somehow catch Janerko napping. Leaves it until we get to the grid lines. And I feel like Janerko might have a bit of a chance here if he times it right. And there we go. Xander has gone. Valentine's got a bit of a good restart on the back of Matthew Older here. We are back into green flag action. Xander still in the lead. Janerko in second. Not many changes at the front of the field as Jensen gets close to Max Wiesel. And we can see here we've got Isma trying to get down the inside out of Valentine as well. And Fede trying to go around the outside of the Williams. It is all happening here in this race. But Isma almost putting a nose up the inside of Valentine. Just gets himself backed out at the right time. And that's allowed H-Eagle to become the lead car on the soft tyres. But it is Xander, Janerko, Older, Valentine, Isma. No change in your front 5. As Fede tries to get back into the lead car on the soft tyres. Tried it round the outside at turn number 8. That one wasn't going to work as Max Wiesel on his fresh mediums down the inside of Jensen at Pico de Pato.
Yeah, lovely move for Max, and Brock's going to try and do the same thing on Hamilton there. And there's a bit of contact and runs off the road there. He's dropped down towards the back of the field. But yeah, that was a pretty hectic first couple of corners, wasn't it? Matthew Older, I think, maybe caught a little bit napping, had a big snap of oversteer through turn 2, and that put Valentine and Isma all over the back of him. And in the end, because there was nowhere to go, they ended up just kind of bottlenecking and causing Fede to go off the road as further back. Brock goes for another move, this time on Jensen, and Ardapal Gamer goes for a move on Cornet, and Valentin and Isma running side by side here. Can Isma get the move done and get past the McLaren and up into fourth comfortably? I think he can, but H-Eagle's trying to make it through as well down the inside towards turn number 4. Isma surely has got this one done. Valentin's going to try and hang it around the outside, but there's just not the grip to do so. Isma up into fourth, and now Valentin is going to be the one that's under pressure on those mediums.
Yeah, Valentin's going to be the first one that everyone is going to come to, and maybe just with late braking into turn number 1 might make the difference here. Max Wiesel trying to throw one up the inside of Fede. You know, it's going to be a tough job, but don't write Max Wiesel off for a podium, I say as he goes across the grass. Instant commentator's curse. I think we knew that one was coming as he drops down towards 9th place, but he didn't get any damage from that, and he has got the fresh soft tyres. H-Eagles and Fedes aren't going to completely wear out at the end, but they're not going to be in the best condition as Ardapal Gamer, all of a sudden, he's back up into the points, back into 9th place. Xander, Daderko and Matthew Alder, we didn't speak about too much on that lap because they were just clear while all the battling was happening behind them. DRS has been activated then. First time they'll be able to use it is down to Retta Aposta. No moves done into turn 1 on this occasion. And now it's all going to be about just trying to manage things if you're Xander. He's got plenty of ERS. 7 laps can easily burn that up. Daderko's not going to go for the move now, but they can't hang around because those on the softs, they're going to be thinking, we need to get this done as soon as possible. We need to take advantage of our fresh tyres. But again, DRS trains making this exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, making it very difficult. I think the good thing for them is that H-Eagle and Fede's tyres aren't very good, as Brock tried to go for the move on Fede, and I think might have just clipped his rear tyre there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's damage there for Brock in that one. Mats gets the time penalty and all of that, and yeah, Brock is dropping down the field. Yeah, he pulls out the way. So Brock tried the late dive down the inside of Fede and just mistimed it, with Fede braking for the corner and just ran clean into the back of the AlphaTauri. So just as I was about to say that Haas are going to be the ones to look out for, Brock has damaged his car, and that is pretty much game over for him. So it's now all up to Ardapal Gamer to try and work his way through up these places, up into 8th, and the 2 soft runners in front, older soft tyres, but he's now on the back foot with 2 soft runners in front, not really going anywhere. Valentin trying to repass Isma into turn 1, but not quite close enough.
Not quite close enough. H-Eagle just doesn't seem to have the pace on these soft tyres. This is really strange at this moment in time. Whether it's a deliberate choice of him not going for it, I'm not sure, just to protect his teammate a bit from these runs behind. But at the moment, his main concern his teammate has got is Isma all over the back of the Red Bull driver. Wasn't able to get that move done into turn 4 on that occasion. He is low on his ERS, he is clipping. Matthew Alder has about 50% more than the Williams driver, so that is going to make things difficult for Isma then. A penalty for anyone now is going to be extremely costly, as Max Wiesel has got ahead of Ardapal Gamer, and that is Benjamin just pulling off the side of the road. Both Hassers, early on we said they were looking pretty good. It's gone disastrously wrong. They are now both outside of the points, and it looks like Gunter Steiner is going to have to watch out for a few doors getting smashed in his motorhome, because I don't think either of them are going to be too happy about how this race has gone. 5 to go at the end of this one. Daderko not really pressuring Xander. Matthew Alder fairly close to the back of Aston Martin driver, not close enough to get anything done. Valentin might be close enough to get a move done down into turn 1. We've seen a few on the outside, tries it on the inside, gets into the back of Matthew Alder and breaks his front wing, and is actually out of the race. That wasn't that heavy of a contact. Are we too late for a safety car? It looks like we are. Didn't look like there was anything really in that. Looked as though he got the move done on Isma. Matthew Alder couldn't make his car disappear. Tiniest bit of contact. Valentin unfortunately loses out.
Yeah, I think just for the second time in this race, I think he just kind of overcooked it, didn't he? And just ran into the Red Bull. We went a bit deep into get the move Isma and just fell backwards, which is a real shame. He was having such a good race, but yeah, just too over-eager in the latter stages, and that's put him out of proceedings, which is such a shame. Nothing Matthew Alder in that situation did wrong. I think he was already fully committed to the corner, so yeah, real shame for Valentin. And by the way, I was on board with Ardapal Gamer. He basically, I think I was having a bit of deja vu, because he basically did the identical move to what Brock did on the lap previous and just ran clean into the back of Fede in that corner. So the 2 Haas cars not loving the back of the AlphaTauris today.
No, at least I've got to keep it for company now. They are at the back of the field, just entertaining themselves. Here comes Cornet down the inside of Fede, takes that position as Max Wiesel thinks about one on Isma just up ahead. So Cornet up into 7th. Max Wiesel doing a bit of a better job on his ERS than he was earlier on, and he could still have a bit of an impact here. He's going to try and get himself up the order as much as possible to negate the impact of that 3-second penalty. Down the inside goes the Ferrari driver. He is up into 4th. I know Fabi said he'd stayed up until 3 a.m. to see what his teammate could do for pole position and wasn't too happy to see him in 8th place. If he's still awake, we might be seeing a bit better things now on track if the penalties will, of course, negate that and send him down to 9th as things stand. Still Zander leading, still Daneco in 2nd, still Matthew Alder in 3rd place. If Max Wiesel sends one down the inside, if you're Matthew Alder, do you just let him go because he's got the penalty? Or do you try and defend because it is a carve at the moment between yourself and your main rival out on track?
I think surely you just got to let them go. I think that's what Isma did there. I think he just let Max go, hoping that cause a little bit of something in front that he could capitalise on. I think Matthew Alder's got to do the same, surely, hasn't he? Or he's got to do what he's doing now and try and work his way forwards on Daneco. He's got to move maybe down the inside of turn 1 on the Aston Martin. Does he go for the move? He does down the inside. Going to be the outside for turn 2. He's not got the preferable line for the corner. Daneco kind of forces him off the road, but that's the nature of the corner, and Max is going to breeze around the outside here of the Red Bull. Oh, a little bit of contact as Max tries to move across to get past Daneco in the process. Down the inside goes the Ferrari. Can he get the move done through the corner? Just superior grip, and Max drives clean past. Matthew Alder down a position. He's not lost out to Isma in the end, but that was pretty risky going for the move at turn 1, and it didn't quite pay off.
No, it didn't. I thought it was maybe a bit too far back up. I mean, Daneco did give him the space in the end too to make... Well, he gave him the space into turn 1 and 2. Whether he gave him the space into turn 3 could be an interesting one, especially if Matthew's got a warning from that and ends up getting a penalty. It could be something that ends up getting looked at. Otherwise, I don't think it will. And Max Wiesel looks like he's going to take the victory out on track at least, because he's all over the back of Zander at the moment. I do not see any possibility of Zander managing to hold on to the lead. He's got a lot more VRS, but the DRS that Max Wiesel's going to have, plus the superior grip of those soft tyres under braking, should see the Ferrari breeze past. If not, I was going to say into the braking zone. He's got it done before the braking zone. Max Wiesel now takes the on-track lead of this race, and he's got to drive the fastest 2 laps of his life to see what kind of result he can get out of this. He has got much fresher tyres. Hamilton retires in the pits. That's going to promote the 2 Haas's up into 11th and 12th, but they are too far back to take advantage of any penalties. And Zander, Daneco and Matthew Alder and Isma doing an incredibly good job on that set of the medium tyres, but now they've got Cornet on the back of him, and I think he's going to fancy at least getting ahead of the Red Bull and the Williams to help his teammate out.
Yeah, he's definitely going to really try, isn't he? He's off the back of one of his best races of the season, is Cornet, so really trying to work his way forwards in this one. And if he can get a place on Isma, of course, with Max Wiesel's penalty, that's a P4 in this race if he can get that move, and possibly a podium if he can get Matthew Alder. Zander now, though, really struggling on those mediums, isn't he? He's just starting to lose the pace. The car's sliding a little bit all over the place, and it's starting to bottleneck these drivers up behind just a little bit. Cornet almost clean into the back of Isma through Zheng Xiao, but gets away with it. Does any of the medium runners go for it? We're coming on to the last lap of the race, so really this is one of the last opportunities to get the moves done, but no one really seems close enough into turn 1.
Zander just staying within DRS range then as they do come into the centre S for the final lap of this race. Matthew Alder's got a bit deep there into the first part of the centre S. Looks like to have got away with it, and that's held up Isma, and Cornet's just going to drive clean round the outside of him on those soft tyres. Can he hold on into the braking zone for Decido de Largo? He can do indeed. That might be a crucial move at the end of the season. Cornet is up into 5th place. H-Eagle all over the back of Isma as well. Can't quite get anything done at the moment. It has been exceptionally close for soft tyres. Perhaps not as powerful as we thought they were going to be at this stage of the race. Casper and Jensen having a battle. That's not going to change anything when it comes to the penalty situation. And Max Wiesel, how far down the order is he going to drop? He's going to be marginal here with Isma, so that could be another place that Matthew Alder effectively gains here. Max Wiesel around the final corner. He's qualified on pole position. He's going to take on-track victory for the first time this season as Isma drops behind H-Eagle here, but he's not going to do it after penalties. That honour is going to go to Zander, who crosses the line to take the victory here in Brazil. It's a win for Zander. Daneco takes 2nd place. Matthew Alder takes a podium, brings the lead in the championship down to 4 points now between him and Isma. Cornet gets 4th. Max Wiesel gets 5th place. Probably too little for his championship chances. Fede getting H-Eagle on the line there. We'll see what the gap is, but that must have been incredibly close between the 2 of them, and Jensen and Casper picking up the final points in this race. But it is Zander. Showed good pace last week, didn't work out. Showed good pace this week, gets the undercut and gets the victory.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Xander, and it's great to see him come on song at the end of the season, isn't it? He had such a horrible start to the season, so great to see him now starting to pick up the performances. And yeah, brilliant drive, great to hold on those medium tyres. Didn't fight Max Husel when he didn't need to, so brilliant stuff. And by the way, that first corner on the last lap, Isma plain out broke himself and drove into the back of Matthew Alder and damaged his front wing, which is why Isma fell so far off the back of Cornet in that last lap. So Isma there costing himself a fifth place finish.
Yeah, costing himself a fourth place finish as well, because you feel he might have finished ahead of Cornet, and I think Fede and H-Eagle got close to him at the end as well, so that could have been a lot worse for him. But it is Xander who takes his first ever podium in the top tier of PSGL. Never mind his first win. Brilliant performance from him. Danirko makes it 4 podiums out of the last 5 places, keeps himself in the championship hunt. Matthew Alder's reduced that gap now down to just 4 points. Another good result for Cornet. That's good for Aston Martin in the Constructors. Max Wiesel recovering to 5th. Isma, Fede, H-Eagle, Jensen and Casper, those who scored the points. Brock and Ardapel Gamer, who got the fastest lap, probably feeling aggrieved in the Hatters, 11th and 12th. Hamilton still classified despite retiring from the race. Valentine, Asacombe and Walters and Fusilio were the rest of the retirements. Again, a frantic end to the race. Safety cars always seem to lead to this.
Yeah, they definitely do, don't they? They always throw a spanner in the works, but yeah, brilliantly managed stuff from the drivers on the medium tyres. I was expecting more of the medium runners to get a little bit swamped, really, at that restart, but in the end, it just didn't happen, did it? The only soft runner that made it through unscathed was Cornet. Max did make it through, but he got a penalty in the process. Cornet was the only one that got through cleanly, and he only managed to get past one of the medium runners and into 4th. So, yeah, quite surprised we didn't see more of the medium runners plummet, but brilliantly managed either way, and it was a brilliant race, wasn't it? I was kind of worried going in that this could be a little bit of a procession, only just based on previous races we've had at Brazil. It was anything but. That was a brilliantly tense race.
Yeah, we said earlier on, after, especially when we had the massive DRS train, that, maybe things will stay incredibly close together. We won't see too many moves at the start. Straight away, Max Wiesel and Isma were pushing it extremely hard. Well, before the safety car, you'd have said that definitely cost Max Wiesel a chance of any good points, because he just plummeted a long way down the order with something like in a net 8th or 9th place before that safety car came out.
Yeah, he was really struggling, wasn't he? He was struggling with tyre wear, so yeah, it was definitely the right call for him to pit. So really smart of him to pit that one. I'm sure he's absolutely gutted that he got that time penalty, because without that could have been massive for his championship hopes. But it's still a solid result nonetheless. But yeah, like you said a little bit earlier on, I think that may be too little too late now for Max's championship with that penalty. Although Danirko may have saved himself a little bit in the championship, beating both Matthew Alder and Isma. So maybe it is still a 3-horse race in this championship. Obviously, Danirko's not gained as much as maybe he would have hoped, but it's still a net gain.
Yeah, it is still a net game. I'm going to do quickly what the live championship standings are at the moment in the drivers. 5 rounds to go, of course, in this championship. Isma leading on 95 points. Matthew Alder's now closed the gap to 4 points. He is on 91. Danirko still within a race. Well, he's got himself back within a race win. He is now on 80 points. And Max Wiesel just that bit further back on 66. So not really out of it yet, but really need things to start going well for him in the next few rounds of the season. We have invited the drivers for interviews, so hopefully it won't be too long before we do get those in. But before they make their way in, let's take a look at where we are going to be in the next race on the calendar. And as you can see there, one where you're going to see plenty of slipstreaming, the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, Mexico, that long pit straight. Really, really long pit straight, actually, in the end. So that is going to be a really interesting race to watch, the Mexico one. Strategy as well there. It's a mix between a 1 and a 2 stop. It kind of depends on if you think you can get through traffic and what strategy suits you better. Some people can manage their tyres, and Max Wiesel proved today that he's maybe not as good as managing his tyres, so we may see him possibly going for that 2-stop strategy. So yeah, going to be a really interesting race at Mexico. Penalties as well. That is going to be one that could be really crucial next time out. So I think Mexico is going to be one of those races where the smartest wins rather than the fastest. So yeah, really excited for Mexico. And we've got a lot of tracks like that coming up, haven't we? A lot of tracks coming up where caution may be the better part of valor.
Yeah, you can say Singapore as well. The only track I've seen a race go full wet to dry to full wet in the same one. Closest F1 really gets to an endurance race around Singapore. A proper test for the drivers. United States, see plenty of moves there. Slipstream Fest at Italy. And Bahrain, more traditionally the start of the season. Hopefully, it will provide us a good end to the season. Let's talk a bit more about then some of the things that I was about to say. Let's talk a bit more about some of the things that we saw in this race, because we were waiting for the drivers to come in for the interviews, but they are now just making their way in. So we will head ourselves over to the waiting room and get ourselves started with the interviews, and we'll start in reverse order. We'll start with the man who finished in third place. It is Matthew Alder. Great for yourself, obviously, to recover after what were two tough races at Belgium and the Netherlands. Tell us about how today went.
Yeah, it went pretty good. The quality lap was good. Yeah, I just followed people basically the whole race. I tried to make some moves, but it's like every time I try and make a move or do anything, someone would always hit me up the rear, so I was quite limited for most of the race.
Just tell us about what happened on the final lap of the race. I thought you'd gone a bit deep, but judging from Aiden and judging from what we've seen on the Twitter chat, it sounds like Isma went into the back of you.
Yeah, Isma went into the back of me into turn 4, I think it was. So he got damage from it as well, or turn 1. I can't remember. It was one of those corners.
Yeah, you have managed to, I think it was first corner, did cost him a position. Well, 2 in the end. I think 1 to Cornet and 1 to Max Wiesel. Aiden, any questions for Matthew?
It's hard to say really what questions we've got. I think more than anything, maybe a bit of sigh of relief for you. Obviously, it's not been a great 2 rounds previous to this one. I guess this one's maybe a little bit of a weight lifted off your shoulders coming off of the previous rounds you've had.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't score points for both races, so of P3 is good, and gaining 5 points, I think, on Isma is also a positive to take from it.
Yeah, and I guess I'll ask the question I always ask every time I'm in here, but looking forward to the next race at Mexico. Obviously, completely different to what we've had today. How are you feeling about Mexico?
Probably going to be another DRS train race, but it's going to be all about penalties at the end, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to play a big factor in that one. But congratulations on another podium this season, and yeah, brilliant stuff.
Yeah, brilliant stuff for Matthew. I'll let him head off and we'll have a chat with the man who finished second place, 6th podium of the season for yourself, Danerko. Just couldn't quite get close enough to Xander to take that victory.
I just managed the whole race, and I did an undercut with him, and then we were just trying to push, and then we got the safety car, and we decided to not pit. We were in party together, so I didn't risk anything. I didn't want to. Yeah, I wanted to pass him, but in the maybe penultimate lap. But then Max came out with soft tires, so I just lost a win. I could have won, but I was not in second place in the penultimate lap So, but it was a good race. So I just started P7. I did a mistake in the quali, so it's a good race. Finish at P2.
Yeah, certainly a good result for yourself. Again, a bit like Matthew after a tough race last week, recovering. We saw the late safety car. Did you think about putting the soft tyres on at any point, or were you confident the mediums would be good enough to get you towards the end?
I think everybody thought about pit for soft, but then I just realized that I was in P2, so I didn't want to go back to like P9 or 8 and then have damage. So just went to the safety strategy.
Yeah, in the end, I think definitely turned out to be the right thing to do for those towards the front of the train. Aiden, any questions for Danerko?
I think the same thing that I asked Matthew Alder. Mexico, next time out. How are you feeling about Mexico? Do you think you can take another win there?
I don't know. It's a really good track, but I'm fast in quali, and was a bit struggling also in challengers in the race pace. So we will see. Maybe I will tweak the setup a little bit, and then yeah, we're just having fun. So I will see race, like I said.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, race to race. But yeah, congratulations on another podium this season. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Yeah, congratulations to Danerko on another podium. It looks like we're not going to hear from Xander because he doesn't have any headphones near him. Clearly caught himself by surprise a bit with his pace. He's done brilliantly over the last couple of races. maybe we can see similar from him next time out at Mexico. And I think it's been summed up quite well by the two drivers that we have had an interview with. DRS is going to be so crucial. That run towards turn 1 as well on lap 1, always one to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely is one to watch out for. Like you say, it's such a long run, especially lap 1 as well. It's almost sometimes a detriment being on the first row of the grid down towards turn 1. So that's definitely going to be interesting to play out. And yeah, beyond that, DRS very, very strong. So, and like I mentioned, and like Matthew Otto mentioned as well, penalties galore can happen at Mexico. Strategy can play a part as well. So going to be a lot to pay attention to next time out. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be obvious who's going to be winning that race until pretty much the very end.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I know on previous games, it tended to be a fairly nailed on two-stop strategy. On this one, does seem to be a bit more variation, which is great for us to see as commentators, and I'm sure it's great for you guys at home as fans as well. You never know quite what is going to happen. Unfortunately, once again, there is going to be no PC F1 race this Wednesday. Make sure to keep an eye on the PSGL Twitter page for any updates on what is happening with the rest of the tiers, unless any patch comes out midweek, which is unlikely, seeing as Monday is the usual date for Cody's to release their patches. It looks like the next action we're going to see is going to be PlayStation on the Thursdays, then the middle tiers on the Sunday. We'll be back, as we've already said, at 8 p.m. next week at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. It was a first win of the season for Xander, then reserving in the Mercedes. Matthew Older and Daneco both closing the gap on Isma at the top of the championship. 5 rounds to go. Still anyone's guess who's going to take the victory. Thanks to Daneco and Matthew for joining us for the interviews. Thanks to Aidan for joining me in the commentary box. Thanks to Grid Rival for sponsoring this stream. Make sure to check out our Fantasy League down below in the description. And thanks to you guys as well for joining us. We will see you in a week's time for the Mexican Grand Prix. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.